Discover the heartwarming moment when a single dad's call sign inspired 5 incredible F-22 pilots. Marcus stood at the edge of the airbase, the roar of F-22 engines thundering through the air, as the dazzling jets flew overhead in a display of American strength. This was a different world, one that felt both familiar and alien. 8 years ago, he was a proud husband, reveling in the bravery of his late wife, a courageous Air Force pilot. But now, as a single dad to spirited Lily, he felt the weight of his struggles magnified beneath a bright blue sky. Rummaging through his pocket, Marcus found a crumpled piece of paper from the contest that had changed everything. Winning entry to this event was a stroke of luck in a month filled with turmoil. The factory lay silent now, and he juggled odd jobs to keep a roof over his and Lily's heads. Each early morning started with coaching Little League, followed by shifts at the diner. As he watched the jets, he wondered if he'd ever fly high again. As the pilots took the stage, Marcus felt a knot tighten in his chest. Symbols of freedom and sacrifice stood before him, men and women who embodied the spirit of honor. The event was about to become more than just an event, it would become a moment that sifted through his burdens. A microphone was thrust into his hands, and he couldn't help but share his heart. "You know," he began, "when I think about call signs, I don't just see names. I see the strength we give one another." His words resonated, drawing in the crowd. He spoke of his wife's courage, of the dreams they had shared. Lily, with her wide, sparkling eyes, listened intently. Her belief in her dad's strength echoed the ringing plains above. "We honor the sacrifices of these heroes," he said, his voice gaining strength, "but we realize that love has its call signs too, call signs that encourage us to chase our dreams. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The crowd erupted into applause, but even as compliments rolled in, dark clouds hung overhead. A sudden financial crisis loomed, threatening their home. Whispers of judgment followed Marcus through the local grocery store aisles, the weight of despair mingling with mounting pride. He found it hard to look up, to connect with neighbors, who only saw his perceived shortcomings. Each step felt heavier, but hope shone in unexpected places. The elite F-22 pilots rallied around his story, eager to help. Their camaraderie sent whispers of unity through the town, though not everyone welcomed it. Was a factory worker deserving of such generosity? Judgments flew as fast as the jets above. Each encounter felt like a roller coaster of emotions, as pride and doubt intertwined, and yet, as each day passed, Lily's dreams of flying echoed in Marcus's mind, igniting his own long-lost aspirations. "Can I be a pilot just like Mommy?" she had asked, bright-eyed and hopeful. As he contemplated their uncertain future, he realized that saving his daughter's dreams might mean finding his own way back to the sky. With uncertainty casting shadows at home, he clutched his heart, praying for the courage to fight. In that pivotal moment, love, doubt, and the whispered dreams of a child intertwined, leaving Marcus at a crossroads and the reader gasping for the next chapter's unfolding. Could he soar amid the challenges, or would their dreams be left hanging, like the planes above? Marcus watched the F-22s disappear into the horizon, his heart thumping like the engines that had just roared past. The cheers of the crowd began to fade, replaced by a dull ache in his chest. Every moment he spent at the airbase reminded him of what he had lost, what they had lost. But the elation from sharing his story lingered, a beacon amidst the gloomy clouds threatening to rain on his parade of hope. "Dad! Can you believe it? You were amazing." Lily's voice cut through his thoughts, energy sparking from her small frame. She bounced on her toes, all movement and excitement, her eyes gleaming like the planes above. He couldn't help but smile, the warmth of her innocence melting the edges of his worry. "I was just speaking from my heart, kiddo," he said, ruffling her hair. Lily giggled, her joy infectious, wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. As they drove home, the silence of the empty streets began to settle in, a stark contrast to the pandemonium at the airbase. Every turn of the wheel felt heavier, like pulling a weight behind them. He glanced at Lily, whose chatter about the pilot's aerial tricks was enough to lighten even the darkest cloud. But in the back of his mind, other thoughts lingered: the bills waiting to be paid, the factory job that felt more like a ghost of his past, and the gnawing realization that he needed to find a way to make it all work. With each passing day, the pressure pressed closer. He had grown adept at hiding his fears from Lily, painting over them with laughter, but the reality felt like a heavy shroud draped around him. Driven by the light inside her and the hope of those F-22 pilots, he felt a flickering urge to not only support her but to rediscover his own passions. One evening, after Lily was tucked into bed, Marcus took out a dusty box from the garage, a relic of his past. Inside, it was filled with his old aviation magazines, blueprints, and a worn-out flight simulator joystick. Each item told a story. He stifled a laugh as he flipped through a magazine showcasing pilot call signs and their meanings, flipping to one that read Maverick. He would need to be a bit of a maverick himself. It was time to step out from under the weight of despair and into the light of possibility. "Maybe I can do this," he murmured to nobody but the empty room. He remembered the pilot's kindness and generosity that day, and that glimpse of hope sparked something in him, not just for him, but for Lily. He reached for his phone and began scrolling through aviation schools, searching for programs that could reignite the fire inside him. The thought of climbing into a cockpit again sent shivers down his spine, filling him with a mix of exhilaration and dread. Was he too far gone? Was it selfish to chase his dreams when his daughter needed stability? Marcus wrestled with these questions, his thoughts tangled like the wires of his old joystick, and just as he was about to shut the phone off, a notification buzzed through. One of the F-22 pilots had sent him a message. "We believe in you, Marcus. Let us know how we can help you and Lily achieve your dreams." Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. In that moment, after all the weight he had carried, there was an opening sunlight breaking through the clouds. What if he took a leap? What if he turned uncertainty into action? In the back of his mind, Lily's question echoed, "Can I be a pilot just like Mommy?" As he contemplated this newfound possibility, he felt courage washing over him like a cool breeze. Was he ready to spread his wings? It was time to turn dreams into reality, but could he really do it? Preparing to text the pilot back, he realized that the journey ahead would not only define him as a father but as a man willing to fight for his family. He took a deep breath and glanced out the window at the starry sky above. The night seemed full of promise. Would he take the plunge? Or would fear keep him grounded? Marcus stared at his phone, the glow lighting up his face in the dim room. The message from the pilot pulsed with warmth and encouragement. They believed in him. He could feel the weight lifting, little by little, breaking down the walls of doubt that had built around his heart. He let out a shaky breath, then typed back, "Thank you. I really need to hear that right now. Any advice?" The reply came back almost immediately, filled with enthusiasm and camaraderie. The pilot detailed local aviation schools and offered to help him navigate the admissions process. Each word was infused with the kind of belief that Marcus hadn't felt in years. Positivity bubbled in him, attempting to silence the voice of fear still whispering in the back of his mind, but he couldn't let this be just a fleeting moment. He needed to act. A fire ignited inside, sending sparks of energy racing through his veins. He began researching schools and scholarships, jotting down deadlines and requirements, feeling more like the person he used to be. But that person was buried deep, and he still had to confront the journey ahead. The next morning, the sun broke through the clouds, flooding his small kitchen with warm light. Lily burst through the door, her backpack bouncing against her back. The school day faded behind her as she trampled into their home, her laughter spilling into the air. "Dad! Let's South go to the park today." Marcus chuckled, shaking his head playfully. "You sure you want to spend time with an old guy like me instead of your friends?" "Of course," she replied, her eyes sparkling like the sun. "You're not old. You're the coolest, Dad." There it was again, that rush of warmth that made everything seem possible. "All right then, park it is." They spent the day chasing each other through the swings and slides, Marcus reminding himself to cherish every moment. As they rested on a bench, panting and giggling, Lily turned to him with a thoughtful expression. "Dad, can we take flying lessons one day?" Marcus's heart skipped a beat. He looked at her, eyes wide with surprise. You really want to learn how to fly? Yeah. I want to be just like Mommy. I want to soar through the skies. Her words were pure, filled with dreams yet untainted by the realities Marcus faced. He felt the lure of his own dreams resurface, a combination of their hopes mixing with the cool breeze. You know what, Lily? I think we can look into that together. Lily beamed, her joy lit up the park around them. So, you'll fly with me? The idea sent a thrill through Marcus. The notion of crossing this bridge with his daughter filled him with a sense of purpose. Absolutely. That night, as Lily settled into her bed, Marcus returned to his phone. He checked the pilot's message again, reading it like an affirmation. With determination, he sent a response, I want to pursue my dream of flying. I want my daughter to see her dad chase something big. Almost instantly, a flood of replies came through, each filled with advice, support, and offers to guide him through this new chapter again. He felt that warmth spread through him, igniting the fading embers of his passion. In their short exchange, the pilots provided him something beyond mechanical knowledge. They were handing him hope, encouragement, and a sprinkle of belief that magic could happen, and as he slipped under the covers that night, Marcus felt that maybe, just maybe, he could reclaim the sky for himself and for Lily. Yet, amidst the excitement, shadows of doubt beckoned. The road ahead would not be easy. How would he balance this new journey with everything else? What sacrifices would he need to make? With those questions heavy on his heart, he turned off the light. Tomorrow would be another step, but could he truly find a way to make this flight happen not just for him, but for the little girl who believed in him? The vivid dreams danced in his mind, reminding him that the journey was about more than just flying. It was about walking alongside his daughter, teaching her to chase the sky too. But would he muster the courage to leap into the unknown? Morning light burst through the blinds, casting stripes across Marcus's face. He blinked awake, heart racing. Last night's determination lingered, fueling his spirit. He couldn't ignore it anymore. He had to pursue his dream of flying, not just for himself but for Lily. After breakfast, he shifted into action. With a cup of coffee in hand, he sprawled across the table, papers and websites sprawling in front of him. He printed out applications, browsed scholarships, and made notes about aviation programs. With each item ticked off, he felt more grounded, more connected to the aspiration that had once been a distant whisper in his heart. Dad, are you working on our flying lessons? Lily peered over his shoulder, eyes full of potential, and he smiled at her enthusiasm. Yep, I'm digging in deep, he replied, buoyed by her presence. Can you help me choose which school to look at first? Really? She bounced on her toes, excitement radiating. I want to see the planes, and maybe even touch one. Then that's the plan. They spent the morning poring over the programs and maps, their imaginations swirling as they imagined flying together. As the week slipped by, Marcus dove deeper into the research. Hours bled into late nights filled with forums and videos where others shared their journeys. He found a mentor among the pilots who had reached out to him, someone eager to share tips and guidance, but doubt still loomed, casting shadows over his newfound aspiration. What if it didn't work? What if he made a mistake? The wound of his past failures still stung like a fresh bruise. His thoughts twisted and turned, but each time he thought of Lily, the doubts shadowed briefly, replaced by a burning determination. The weekends became more special, too. Marcus worked hard to fill their free days with many adventures. They visited airshows, where they marveled at the magnificent aircraft slicing through the sky with grace. Each whir and roar sent a thrill through Marcus, igniting his dreams again. One day, amidst the vivid blues and whites of a cloudless sky, the duo sat on a grassy hill, watching a display of planes perform tricks. Lily's face glowed with wonder. Dad, one day we'll fly like that, right? Marcus felt a lump in his throat, caught between the weight of hope and the fear of what lay ahead. Absolutely, kiddo. Just like Mom used to. Their little family often discussed her with reverence, her memory a tender thread woven into every adventure they undertook. It felt like she was watching them, rooting them on. He kept that thought close, using it as both anchor and sail, but things changed when a notification popped up on Marcus's phone late one night. An opportunity. A scholarship program specifically designed for aspiring pilots. He felt the rush of exhilaration and fear. This was the moment that could alter everything. The application deadline was a week away. Lily, he called, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What do you say we tackle this application together? Her eyes lit up like stars. Let us do it. I can help you brainstorm. As they sat together, bouncing ideas around, Marcus realized he needed to include in his essay what being a father meant to him. He wanted to write about hope, legacy, and how much it mattered to chase dreams. Lily's laughter echoed through the room, transforming this serious task into something full of joy, but as they finished the application, a sudden wave of doubt crashed over him again. Did he really stand a chance? Would his past hold him back? Dad? Lily's voice punctured his spiral of worries. You're doing this to inspire me, right? Of course, he replied, forcing a smile despite his inner turmoil. You inspire me every day. Then don't worry. You got this. In that moment, something shifted. It was a realization that chasing dreams took courage, and courage was often found hidden inside, wrapped in love, perseverance, and the belief of someone you cared about. They submitted the application together, fingers trembling but hearts buoyed by the joy of the shared moment. Marcus leaned back inside, releasing a burden he hadn't realized he was carrying. But as the reality set in, he realized he still had so much ground to cover. What if it wasn't enough? What if the universe had other plans? With those thoughts circling in his mind, Marcus left the room. The waiting game had begun, and only time would see where it led him and Lily. Days stretched into a blur. Marcus found himself torn between anticipation and anxiety. The wait for the scholarship results was almost unbearable. With every tick of the clock, he felt his heart pound a little harder. He tried to keep to his routine, taking Lily to school, picking her up, planning weekend outings, but there was an unshakable weight on his chest. Dad, can we go to the new arcade this Saturday? Lily's question pulled him from his thoughts. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but he hesitated. Sure, that sounds fun, he replied, forcing a smile. Part of him wanted to say no, wanting to stay home and immerse himself in the uncertainty that filled every corner of his mind. Instead, he decided to commit to their adventure. A tiny break from the intensity of the scholarship waiting game. Saturday arrived, and they entered the arcade, greeted by the cacophony of blips, beeps, and laughter. Marcus felt Lily grip his hand tightly, her joy infectious. He watched her race to a claw machine, eyes wide with hope as she tried to snag a plush toy. There was that same glimmer of determination in her as he felt while pursuing his own dreams. Almost got it, she shouted, her voice high with anticipation. But after several attempts, the claw failed to clutch the prize. Disappointed, she turned to Marcus. Can we try again? He could feel his heart squeeze. You know, sometimes it takes a few tries to get what you want. I know all about that. He ruffled her hair playfully. Want to give it one last shot? With renewed resolve, she grinned. The next attempt brought her closer, but still no victory. Just as she was about to turn away in frustration, Marcus knelt down to her level. Hey, Lily, he said softly, remember the dream I'm chasing? It's just like this. There are ups and downs, but the important thing is you keep trying, even when you feel like giving up. Her heart-shaped face tilted, confusion evident in her eyes. So you mean it might take time to actually fly, right? Exactly, he smiled, taking her small hands in his. But every time you try, you're getting close to reaching that dream. As they left the arcade, his heart felt lighter. They had not won any plush toys, but they had shared a moment, a lesson that would stick with both of them. Watching Lily bound ahead with enthusiasm, Marcus couldn't help but think of the scholarship plans. If it didn't pan out, they could always keep dreaming, keep flying. The next day brought a new reality. He awoke to the familiar buzz of his phone, the notification slicing through the stillness of his early morning. Heart racing, he glanced at the screen. The scholarship committee had posted results. Lily, sensing his tension, rushed to his side. What is it, Dad? What happened? Her voice was a mix of hope and worry. Taking a deep breath, Marcus opened the email. He read the words, his heart pounding louder than ever. We are pleased to inform you the world around him seemed to slow down. It felt surreal, like stepping into a dream where everything was possible. Did you get it? Lily bounced up and down, her excitement radiating off her small frame. With shaking hands, he scrolled down to the end of the message. As he took in the news, his chest filled with a warmth he had thought lost. I did. Lily, I got the scholarship. Really? Yes. She jumped into his arms, wrapping her arms tightly around his neck. In that moment, the realization struck him this wasn't just his victory. It was theirs. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes as they laughed and twirled around the living room in pure jubilation. But with joy came the weight of a new reality. The next steps were going to challenge him in ways he hadn't anticipated. That evening, as they settled into bed, Lily asked, "So what's next? When do we get to fly?" Marcus paused, considering the journey ahead. "Well, first I need to start training. It's going to take time, but we're on our way. And you'll be the best pilot ever, right?" Her voice was full of confidence, and he couldn't help but smile. "Just you wait. We'll be soaring soon." It felt good to think this way. Hope bubbled within him. Though challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Yet, as he turned off the light, a new thought crept in. Would he be able to balance his responsibilities with the demands of training? Doubts flooded back in, laced with excitement for what lay on the horizon. "Just breathe, Marcus," he whispered to himself in the dark. "You've got this." But as dreams danced on the edge of his mind, he couldn't shake the question: was he truly ready for what was coming next? The sky had never felt so thrilling, nor so uncertain. The following morning came with a mix of excitement and dread. The sun shone brightly, but it felt like a spotlight, revealing the enormity of the journey ahead. Marcus made breakfast, trying to focus on the sizzling eggs and golden toast rather than the fluttering worry in his stomach. "Dad," Lily chirped, plopping down at the table, "today's the day you meet your instructors, right? Will they be nice?" Her eyes were sparkling with eagerness, and for a moment, Marcus dissolved into her anticipation. "Of course they will, sweetheart. They want to help me fly." He smiled, trying to match her enthusiasm. But deep down, anxiety flickered like a candle in a storm. What if he didn't measure up? The morning slipped by too quickly, and soon they were driving toward the training facility. The closer they got, the tighter Marcus's gut felt. Was he really ready to take this leap? As he parked the car, Lily's laughter broke through his swirling thoughts. "Look! That plane looks so cool!" she squealed, pointing at a large fighter jet parked near the entrance. Excitement overshadowed his nerves for a moment, and he chuckled softly. "Yeah, pretty amazing, huh?" He ruffled her hair again. As they walked in, the atmosphere was charged with energy. Military uniformed personnel bustled about, focused and driven. Marcus gulped, feeling small in this vast world of experience and expertise. Inside the main hall, he scanned the room and spotted a group of instructors chatting. Each one had an air of confidence that made Marcus both admire and envy them. He approached them cautiously, trying to avoid his growing doubt. "Hi, I'm Marcus. I just got the scholarship for the flight program." One of the instructors, a tall woman with a warm smile, stepped forward. "Congratulations. I'm Captain Hayes. We're excited to have you on board." Her firm handshake was filled with reassurance. "Thank you." He felt himself relax just a bit as they continued with introductions. As they spoke, she shared stories of her own training experiences, including failures that shaped her into the pilot she was today. It was comforting to know that everyone begins somewhere. Lily, who had been quietly observing, suddenly chimed in. "My dad is going to be a pilot. He is going to fly super high." The instructors turned their attention to Lily, and she soaked in their smiles. "That's right. Just like you've got to keep trying for that toy, Dad has to try too," she confidently explained. Marcus's heart swelled with pride. "Exactly, Lily. Every trial gets me a bit closer." As the meeting wrapped up, Captain Hayes invited Marcus to the cockpit simulator later that week. "It'll be a great way for you to get your feet wet, no pun intended," she added with a wink. "Awesome." His voice held a spark of enthusiasm, the gravity of the moment beginning to wash away his hesitations. Afterward, as they left the building, laughter and chatter filled the air between him and Lily. "Can you believe it?" She grinned up at him. "You're going to fly." "Yeah, I guess I will." But he couldn't shake the nagging question in the back of his mind: what if something went wrong? How would he explain it to Lily? That evening, while reading her bedtime story, his thoughts lingered on his growing responsibilities. It would require time. He had to make room in his life for study, training, and still be the dad Lily deserved. "Dad, you promised to work hard, right?" Her small hand clutched at his arm as her eyelids grew heavy. "Absolutely, sweetheart. I promise I will." But deep inside, a fresh wave of uncertainty crashed over him. Was it possible to balance this new dream with everything else? The moment hung thick in the air, and as he watched her drift off to sleep, Marcus knew he had to find out. The very next day would change everything, even if it meant taking the biggest step yet. The next morning dawned with a warmth that wrapped around Marcus, almost as if it was encouraging him to lean in and embrace the day's challenges. He woke up earlier than usual, the sun creeping through the curtains like a gentle nudge. Today wasn't just a day to meet instructors, it was a day to begin crafting a future filled with turbulence and triumph. As Marcus brewed coffee, he couldn't help but replay yesterday's events in his mind. Captain Hayes' words echoed in his ears. "Every trial gets you a bit closer." He felt the gravity of those words linking his journey to that of every other pilot who had ever soared through the skies. "Dad, hurry up!" Lily's call jolted him back to the moment. He smiled as he hurried to finish breakfast, aware that the day's uncertainty was larger than both of them. In the car, Lily babbled excitedly about her new drawing at school, her enthusiasm infectious. "I drew a giant plane. You'll see it later, okay?" Her innocent anticipation fueled a small flame of hope within Marcus. "Absolutely. I can't wait." As they arrived at the training facility, the sight of the aircraft brought back all the awe he felt the first time he saw a plane take off and land. It felt like a promise of freedom, adventure, and risk. Today wouldn't be about just learning, it would be about stepping into the shoes of those who would tread before him. "Stay close, kiddo," he instructed as they walked through the bustling hall, their footsteps echoing against the cold floor. The instructors were a blur of motion against the sharp lines of the building, and as Marcus scanned the room, he spotted Captain Hayes. "Good morning, Marcus. Ready for some action?" she greeted, her voice warm and genuine. "Morning, Captain. Ready as I'll ever be." He tried to ignore the flutter in his stomach. "Good. We're starting with the simulator, where you'll learn the basics of flying. It can be a little intense, but just remember to breathe." She smiled, both playful and serious. "Got it. Breathe." He laughed, trying to ease his tension. The instructors led him to the simulator room, an expansive space filled with towering screens and high-tech gear. It looked as immersive as the real thing. As the instructors settled him into the cockpit seat, Marcus felt both excitement and fear warring within him. He glanced over to see Lily's bright eyes fixed on him, her excitement palpable. The simulation began, and Marcus's heartbeat quickened as the engines roared to life. The controls felt foreign, yet natural in a strange way. He focused on the instructor's calm instructions, adjusting the joystick, responding to prompts. Suddenly, everything spun, and his stomach dropped. "Pull back. You must control the aircraft," Captain Hayes shouted from behind him, voice projecting authority and calm. He gripped the controls tighter, sweat beading on his forehead. With each turn and dive, the feelings of anxiety surged, but so did the adrenaline, flooding his body with determination. This was what he had always wanted. "You got this, Dad." He heard Lily's voice, a bright beacon in the chaos. As the simulation calmed, he managed to stabilize the aircraft, and for a brief moment, his worries melted away. He lifted off, the world below shrinking. Outside the cockpit, he could feel Lily's undivided support. It anchored him. When the simulation ended, the room erupted in applause from the instructors. Marcus couldn't believe the relief washing over him. He grinned widely. "I did it. See? I told you that you could fly." Lily beamed up at him, but just as the thrill settled, a heavy thought crept back in. What would happen when reality struck? What if he fell short? Would he disappoint Lily? Before he could dwell on it, Captain Hayes approached. You were impressive. But remember, it's just the beginning. We have a long way to go. Yeah, I know, he replied, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. As they left the simulator room, a question lingered in his mind: what challenges would lay on the runway ahead? Would they be manageable, or would they threaten to derail his dream? Marcus and Lily walked out into the afternoon sun, the light warming their path. They were at the start of something incredible, but the weight of uncertainty loomed. He would have to learn not just to soar but to navigate through storms with Lily by his side. As they headed home, a firm resolve began to settle within him. Ready for more at school today, buddy? He asked. Always. She chirped. In that smile, Marcus found a glimmer of hope. But deep within, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenges of his heart's journey were yet to come. Would he be brave enough to face them? The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the real flight lessons were only just beginning. The following morning brought a different kind of energy. The sun burst through the bedroom windows with more intensity, illuminating the room like a spotlight. Marcus felt the heat on his face as he stretched out his limbs, trying to shake off the remnants of yesterday's adrenaline. Today, it would be different. Today was the day he would meet with actual pilots, not just trainers in a simulator. As he prepared breakfast, he could sense a thrill tingling under his skin. The smell of eggs frying filled the air, and Lily bounded down the stairs, her backpack slung over her shoulder. Dad! I can't wait to show you my drawing after school. Marcus smiled at her enthusiasm, but as he flipped the eggs, a shadow of concern flickered in the back of his mind. What if I'm not good enough? He whispered to himself, so soft that Lily didn't hear. Dad! She exclaimed, breaking his train of thought. Are you ready? We have to leave soon. Yep, just a minute. He took a deep breath, shoving his insecurities aside. He was going to meet pilots, real pilots. He couldn't let his doubts get the best of him. On the drive over, the city was alive, cars zipped by, and people hurried to their destinations. Lily's chatter filled the car, her excitement as bright as the morning sun. I hope you get to fly with them. That would be so cool. Yeah, that would be amazing, he replied, but inside, he felt a knot tighten as he thought about the high expectations of the pilots. As they arrived, Marcus took a moment to gather himself. The sight of the jets was awe-inspiring yet intimidating. They stood proudly, gleaming under the sun, reminding him of the enormity of what he aspired to become. He hoped his heart could keep up. Once inside the building, the buzz of Aviation Academy hummed around him. Trainees, pilots, and instructors moved in a coordinated chaos that somehow felt organized. Captain Hayes approached, her presence instantly calming. Ready for a real challenge? Ready as I'll ever be. He responded, hoping to conceal any jitters in his voice. Great. You'll be meeting 5 incredible F-22 pilots today. They have some amazing stories and insights to share, she said, a proud smile on her face. Marcus felt a mix of eagerness and intimidation as they made their way into the meeting room. The pilots were relaxed and welcoming, sharing anecdotes that filled the room with laughter. But with each story, Marcus could feel the weight of his own inexperience pulling him down. Flying isn't just about skill, one of the pilots said, his blue eyes shining with sincerity. It's about heart. It's about believing in yourself and those around you. Marcus felt every word resonate deep within him. Could he truly embody that belief? Could he overcome the weight of his worries when he was in the cockpit? Lily, sitting at his side, leaned over. Dad, did you hear that? It's all about heart. Yeah, kiddo, I did, he said, managing a smile. But doubt still hung like a heavy fog in his chest. As the day progressed, Marcus listened intently. The pilots spoke not only about technical skills but also about teamwork, courage, and resilience, qualities he knew he needed to cultivate. Each story made him reflect on what it meant to be a father and a pilot. Toward the end of the gathering, one pilot stood, her demeanor confident. Remember, each flight teaches you something new, and it's okay to fail. What matters is how you rise afterward. Inspired, Marcus thought about the challenges ahead. His heart raced with the promise of flight, but now he saw a flicker of hope. Perhaps he could face his fears. As the pilots answered questions, he raised his hand. How do you deal with fear when you're up there? The room fell silent, all eyes turning to him. It felt daunting. You embrace it, the pilot said, her voice steady. You make it your ally. When you learn to dance with fear, you'll find your wings. Her words clung to him as they transitioned to discussions about training ahead. But just as the conversation began to uplift his spirits, doubts crept in. Could he really dance with fear? Would he truly be able to face his challenges? As they left, Lily tugged at his sleeve. You're going to be a great pilot, Dad. I believe it. He grinned, her faith wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Yet, the question lingered: could he truly believe in himself as much as she believed in him? Walking through the parking lot, the sky stretched wide above them, promising adventures and trials yet unknown. As Marcus prepared for the next phase of his journey, he wondered just how far he would be willing to go. This was only the beginning. What new heights and fears awaited him? The week that followed was a whirlwind of preparations for Marcus. Each night, he pored over training manuals and watched videos of F-22 maneuvers. Lily cheered him on, often asking questions that made him realize just how impactful his journey was for her. What's your call sign going to be, Dad? She'd ask, her big eyes shining with curiosity. Call sign? He'd echo, the concept feeling foreign yet exciting. It wasn't just a name, it was an identity, a badge worn with pride in the sky. He needed to come up with something that felt genuine to him, a representation of who he was and who he aspired to be. He spent hours brainstorming and drawing courage from Lily's unwavering support. I could go with Falcon or maybe Shadow? But nothing felt right. Each name sounded grand but disconnected from his true self. Finally, it hit him one evening as he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought back to the pilots and their emphasis on heart. What if he took a piece of his life, a part of his journey as a father? He envisioned the way Lily believed in him, how her innocent faith filled him with both joy and determination. Maybe heart, he whispered, a smile creeping onto his face. It felt just right. The next day, he shared it with Lily. How about I go with heart as my call sign? Lily's face lit up. Yes. That's perfect. You're going to fly with your heart. Her infectious enthusiasm filled him with warmth. The name resonated deeply, grounding his ambitions to the very bond they shared. As the following weekend dawned, Marcus prepared for his first flying lesson, the sound of an engine roaring in his ears as he and Lily approached the hangar. She wore a miniature flight suit he had custom-made for her, complete with a badge that read Lil Heart. The sight of her joy sparked a new fire in him. He wasn't just training for himself anymore, he was doing this for her too. Inside the hangar, the familiar faces of the pilots welcomed him with smiles. Captain Hayes approached, looking proud. I heard your call sign, I love it. Every flight will remind you why you're up here. Excitement bubbled within him as he absorbed their words. But soon, the familiar knot of anxiety returned. What if he wasn't ready? What if he failed spectacularly in front of these incredible pilots? As if sensing his rising tide of doubt, another pilot placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We're all rooting for you, Hart. Remember, it's okay to stumble. Just keep your head up, and let your heart guide you. With a deep breath, Marcus nodded. The thrill surged through him again, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing in his veins. The moment came, and they climbed into the cockpit, the world outside blurring as the aircraft roared to life. Sitting there, with the cockpit's dials aglow and the murmuring communications in his earpiece, he felt alive. Focus on the task at hand, Captain Hayes coached through his earpiece. As they taxied, Marcus felt the weight of the moment wash over him. Breathing deeply, he repeated the mantra that had anchored him through the week. I'll embrace the fear, I'll dance with it. And then they were airborne. The ground dropped away, and as they climbed, Marcus could feel the thrill beneath the layer of anxiety. Look around you! The pilot beside him shouted, pointing out at the vast blue sky. This is where you belong. Tears pricked at his eyes as he took it all in, the freedom, the exhilaration, and his call sign echoing in his mind. But the euphoria promptly hit another layer of gravity when a sudden jolt rocked the plane, and alarms blared. What was that? Panic flared in his chest, and instinctively his hands gripped the controls tighter. "Stay calm, Hart," Captain Hayes commanded. "Remember what we practiced. Trust yourself." As the heaviness of the moment sank in, doubt clawed at his resolve. Could he truly rise to the challenge again? Was he ready to dance with his fears in such an intense moment? With his heart racing, Marcus took a deep breath, reminding himself of Lily's unwavering faith. This was a test, a moment to show not just himself, but his daughter, that he could be more than his fears. With determination, he prepared to respond. The reality of flight was real, and so was the responsibility he felt. What would unfold next, and could he navigate this storm? The aircraft lurched again, and everything seemed to happen in a flash. Marcus's pulse raced as alarms blared, and the world outside blurred into a whirl of blue and white. "Keep your focus." Captain Hayes' voice cut through the chaos. "Steady on the controls." His hands trembled as he fought the instinct to panic. The weight of all his worries flashed through him in an instant, the scholarship, the expectations, his daughter's bright hopes. But then he thought of Lily, her joy bursting from her heart, the way she believed in him completely. "I can't let her down," he murmured to himself, a mantra forming between breaths. As tranquility began to anchor him, he recalled everything he had learned thus far. The lessons from the pilots, the reminders of embracing fear, and the unbroken belief of his little girl all swirled within him. He steadied his grip, focusing on the horizon. "I'm going to be all right." A few surprising nudges from the controls sent a shiver down his spine, but he took a deep breath. "Okay, I can do this," he whispered, channeling every ounce of bravery. He recalled the simple but profound advice: trust yourself. "Climb to 3,000, Captain Hayes instructed, a calmness in her voice that eased his nerves. He turned his eyes to the dials, glancing down at the altimeter. It was a diversion, a way to dive deeper into the task at hand without letting panic consume him. As he made the ascent, the landscape unfolded beautifully beneath him: sprawling fields, shimmering rivers, and clouds that danced serenely by. "That's it, Hart. Feel the craft respond to you," Captain Hayes encouraged, her faith acting as fuel for his OWN. As they cleared the rocky patches, the alarm silenced, and clarity filled the cockpit. Marcus controlled the throttle, feeling the hum of the engine resonate through him. He pointed the nose skywards, and then it happened: a sense of liberation washed over him. "I'm flying," he shouted, heart nearly bursting in his chest with realization and pride. The exhilaration brought tears to his eyes. Suddenly, he remembered Lily's bright face on the ground, how she watched with faith as he chased after his dreams. This was for her. Every lesson learned was a testament to inspire the very heart of who she was. As the aircraft leveled out, he heard a surge of applause in his earpiece. "Well done, Hart. You embraced the moment brilliantly." Captain Hayes' voice rang with sincerity, pushing back the darkness that had loomed over him. But he turned towards her, a radiant smile breaking onto his face, the fear that had held him captive fading away. "Thank you. Now let us see what else you're made of," she said, the pilots rallying around him as they spoke of new maneuvers. The nerves that once twisted in his gut morphed into thrill. A journey of triumph had just begun. The more they flew, the more determined he became. The second half of the lesson had him testing aerial loops, spirals, and even a gentle landing. With every twist of the aircraft, confidence pulsed through him, sending shocks of electricity that tumbled into his heart. When they finally descended and landed safely back at the airfield, Marcus leaped out of the cockpit, arms lifted, grinning ear to ear like a child who had just achieved the impossible. Lily stood there, her face glowing with admiration. "Dad! You did it!" She rushed into his arms, squeezing with all her might. In that embrace, Marcus felt the fullness of his heart expand. "Together, we'll fly, sweet girl. Together, we have the skies ahead of us," he said, shining with sheer joy. As they walked back through the hangar, laughter echoing, Marcus couldn't shake the overpowering realization of how far they had come. This was not just his transformation, it was theirs, bonding through every dream embraced and every obstacle faced. A couple of weeks later, the day came for Marcus's final test flight. He was nervous but had gathered his experiences like precious gems in a treasure chest. He felt stronger, equipped to confront whatever lay ahead. Dad, you're ready. You're going to show them what you've got. Lily cheered, her belief shimmering brightly. Thanks to you, kiddo. Let us do this. Standing at the threshold again, looking toward the plains, he felt the echoes of inspiration wash over him, a realization that his journey extended far beyond a scholarship or his own dreams. It was about legacy, about showing Lily that anything was possible when you chased after joy. As he climbed back into the cockpit, he was ready to soar, to live the life he had always wanted, and to teach his daughter the beauty of embracing fears as friends instead of foes. Here we go, he whispered, and his engines roared to life beneath him. He added, just like we always talked about. The sky unfolded before him, limitless and inviting, a canvas waiting to be painted with their shared dreams, their hearts intertwined on this incredible flight of life, and he realized every brave departure led to magnificent new heights. Now more than ever, Marcus understood that life was about the journey, and he was prepared for every twist and turn. Together, as father and daughter, they would embrace the skies ahead. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support, because this is the moment we build this amazing community together. Don't wait not even one more second to share.